Okay, stop whatever you're doing right now. Because if you just watched episode 6 of The Boys season 5, you probably closed your laptop, stared at the ceiling, and asked yourself one question. Why on earth would Soldier Boy give Homelander the V1 like what? The guy who has spent the entire season refusing to let Homelander anywhere near that vial, the guy who locked him in a soup-proof cage and punched him in the face just handed it over, smiled, and walked away. And the internet lost its mind. But here is the thing. There is a theory floating around right now, and it is gaining serious traction, that says Soldier Boy did not snap. He did not go soft. He did not have some emotional breakdown over a dead woman he loved. He made a calculated move, a long game play. And if this theory is correct, Homelander is not stronger than ever. He just walked into a trap. So today, we are going to break this thing completely open. We are going to talk about V1, what it actually does, why Soldier Boy giving it away might be the smartest thing he has ever done, and what the Bombsight scene is really telling us about how this whole show ends. Buckle in. This one goes deep. Before we get into theories, we need to make sure everyone is on the same page about what V1 actually is, because a lot of people are treating it like just another power-up drug, and it is so much more than that. V1 is Frederick Vought's original compound V formula, the one he developed before the modern version, the one that actually worked on adults. The reason it matters so much is not just about strength. V1 does something regular compound V cannot do. It makes the person who takes it essentially biologically immortal. That is not a small thing, that is a massive thing. Think about it from Homelander's perspective. The man already believes he is a god, he already thinks he is untouchable. But there has always been one crack in that armor time, and the soup-killing virus that Butcher and the team have been cooking all season. V1 closes both of those gaps at once. The virus cannot bind to V1's molecular structure the same way it does with regular compound V, so with V1 in his blood, Butcher's entire plan falls apart. The biological clock stops. The kill shot gets neutralized. Homelander becomes, for all practical purposes, unkillable. This is why the boys have been so desperate to keep V1 away from him. This is why Butcher basically wanted to destroy it entirely. And this is why Soldier Boy spending the whole season blocking Homelander from getting it made total sense until episode 6, when he just gave it to him. So here is what actually happens in episode 6. And this is important because the setup matters just as much as the handoff. Before Soldier Boy gives Homelander the V1, the show gives us the Bombsight scene. Now, Bombsight is one of the original 5 people who ever successfully received V1 back in the 1940s. He is immortal. He has been around for decades. And Soldier Boy, in what looked like a throwaway action beat, hits him with that radioactive chest blast of his. Bombsight survives, but he loses his powers. His V1 is gone. He goes mortal. The show does not linger on this. There is no dramatic musical cue. No character looks at another character and says, "Wait, did you see what just happened there?" It just happens and the scene moves on. That is not an accident. In television writing, especially in a show like The Boys, which rewards paying attention, the most important information is often delivered quietly. The showrunners wanted you to understand that Soldier Boy's chest blast can strip V1 from a soup's blood they just showed you, loudly, right before the moment where Soldier Boy hands Homelander the very same thing he just stripped from someone else. That is not a coincidence. That is a setup and payoff being planted in the same episode. The Reddit post that has been spreading from a user named MRJ Washington, with nearly 3,000 likes, makes exactly this argument. The reason Soldier Boy gave Homelander the V1, the theory goes, is that he knew Homelander would never stop hunting for it. Homelander was obsessed. He would tear the world apart to get his hands on that vial. So instead of fighting that, instead of being in a constant war over a single dose of a drug, Soldier Boy let him have it. He let Homelander feel like he won, like he finally got the thing he wanted most. And now, with V1 in Homelander's blood, Soldier Boy's chest blast has a way to take it back out. This is the part that I think most people gloss over, and it is critical. Soldier Boy's radioactive chest blast is not just a weapon. It is specifically designed by decades of Soviet experimentation to interact with compound V on a molecular level. The way the show explains it, the radiation is powerful enough to burn compound V out of a soup's bloodstream entirely. This is how Kimiko lost her powers back in season 3 after being hit. This is how Maeve survived the Vought Tower explosion but came out of it as a regular human. The blast does not just hurt sups. Under the right conditions, it resets them. Now here's the upgrade that episode 6 just confirmed. This effect works on V1 as well. Bombsight had V1 in his blood. He was immortal. And then Soldier Boy hit him and that immortality is gone. The show just updated the rules of Soldier Boy's power right before the finale. That is not world building for the sake of it. That is the show handing you the answer and asking you to do the math. If Soldier Boy's blast can strip V1 from Bombsight, it can strip V1 from Homelander. That means the immortality Homelander just injected into himself has an off switch. And the only person in the world who can flip that switch is currently standing right next to him, pretending to be on his side. There is also something Butcher has been doing in the background this season that feeds directly into this. Multiple outlets have reported that Butcher has been studying old Russian experimental footage of Soldier Boy. He is grinding those tapes, looking for something. And the most logical thing he could be looking for, given everything we just described, is exactly this. the mechanism behind the depowering blast. Either to flip Soldier Boy back to their side at the right moment, or to figure out if that effect can be replicated through other means. Now here's where it gets genuinely interesting, because there are two versions of this theory and they lead to very different conclusions about Soldier Boy as a character. Version 1 says this was deliberate from the start. Soldier Boy has known all along that giving Homelander the V1 was safer than keeping it from him. The reasoning goes like this. As long as Homelander does not have V1, he is a desperate and dangerous man with an obsession. Desperate people do unpredictable, destructive things. But if you give a dangerous person exactly what they want, they relax, they trust you, they let their guard down. The moment Homelander injected that V1, he stopped seeing Soldier Boy as an obstacle. He started seeing him as an ally. And in a show full of people stabbing each other in the back the second it is useful, having Homelander trust you completely is an extraordinarily powerful position to be in. Soldier Boy now has access. He is close, and when the time is right, one well-placed chest blast turns the most powerful being on the planet into a regular, powerless, frightened little man named John. Version 2 is darker and honestly a little more emotionally satisfying from a storytelling standpoint. In this version, Soldier Boy genuinely had a moment of weakness. His feelings for Clara for Stormfront genuinely twisted his judgment. He saw Homelander not as a monster, but as the last living piece of the woman he loved, and he made a bad call. But even if that is true, it does not mean the chest blast plan is off the table. It just means the plan comes later, from a place of regret rather than strategy. Either Soldier Boy has a change of heart when he sees Homelander do something that reminds him of everything he actually hates about him, or someone else finds a way to make him flip. Both versions end in the same place. Homelander, stripped of his powers, stripped of his immortality, standing there as a human for the first time in his life. But even if that is true, it does not mean the chest blast plan is off the table. It just means the plan comes later, from a place of regret rather than strategy. Either Soldier Boy has a change of heart when he sees Homelander do something that reminds him of everything he actually hates about him, or someone else finds a way to make him flip. Both versions end in the same place. Homelander, stripped of his powers, stripped of his immortality, standing there as a human for the first time in his life. This is something the fan community has been debating for years, and it is worth spending real time on it. There has always been an argument that simply killing Homelander is not enough. Not thematically, not narratively, not in terms of what this show is actually about. The Boys is a show about power. About what happens when someone with unchecked strength is never held accountable. Homelander has spent his entire life, and it is worth remembering, he was experimented on in the womb. He literally never knew anything other than what he is believing that the rules do not apply to him. He has never been afraid. He has never been helpless. He has never felt what it is like to be on the receiving end of something he cannot stop. If you just kill him, he never gets to experience that. But if you strip him down, if you take everything away and leave him standing there as just a man, now he has to face what he has done without the armor. Now the people he terrorized can look him in the eye as an equal. That is justice in a way that a laser blast to the head simply cannot deliver. The show has been circling this idea for a long time. It is not a new concept in the fandom, but what episode 6 did is make it feel like the show itself is finally ready to go there. And practically speaking, a depowered Homelander also solves the virus problem. If there is no more compound V in his blood, no more V1, no more anything, the supe virus becomes viable again. Butcher's plan, the one that has been their nuclear option all season, starts working again. So you get two solutions for the price of one blast. Now I want to be fair here. The Soldier Boy theory is the strongest one on the table right now, but it is not the only one. Let us run through the other options quickly because the finale could surprise us. Marie Moreau from Gen V has a power that is genuinely unique. She can manipulate blood from inside a person's body. She can access Homelander's bloodstream. She can theoretically pull the V1 out or disrupt it in a way that makes him vulnerable. That is a very specific and very convenient power set to have in the same universe when your main villain just turned his blood into a super weapon. Ryan is the other wildcard, Homelander's own son. We saw him make his father bleed earlier this season, which almost nobody else can do. And we know from season 2 that Ryan, when truly enraged, hit Stormfront another V1 supe with enough force to put her down. He is inexperienced and emotionally compromised when it comes to his father. But he is also potentially the only person strong enough to damage Homelander physically, while the other pieces fall into place. And then there is Sister Sage, who has now switched sides to help the boys. She is described as the smartest person on Earth. Having her brain in the room working on the Soldier Boy angle or the Marie angle or the Ryan angle changes the odds considerably. But all of these paths still seem to pass through Soldier Boy's chest. He is the keystone. He is the one who makes Homelander mortal again. So where does this leave us going into the last 2 episodes? Homelander is, right now, the most powerful he has ever been. Immortal, backed by Soldier Boy, running the White House through a puppet. The boys are scattered. Butcher sounds genuinely scared for the first time in 5 seasons, and the plan they built the whole season around is no longer viable. And yet, the show has told us very quietly that there is still a path. It is narrow. It requires Soldier Boy to either complete a plan he may have already been running, or to find his way back to opposing Homelander at exactly the right moment. It requires someone to get close enough, fast enough, with the right distraction, The most poetic ending for this show is not Homelander dying in a blaze of laser fire. It is Homelander standing in a room full of people he used to be able to vaporize, powerless, finally having to exist in a world where he is not special, where the rules apply to him, where justice can actually reach him. The Bombsight scene was not filler. It was the writers showing us the ending in miniature before the real version plays out. Soldier Boy gave Homelander the V1 because the only way to truly defeat someone who will never stop looking for power is to let them think they have it and then take it all away. That is the play. And I think we are about to watch it happen. If this video convinced you to look at that episode 6 scene differently, hit the like button, it helps more than you think. Drop your own theory in the comments. Genuinely curious whether you think Soldier Boy had this planned or whether he just lost his mind for a minute. Subscribe if you want to be here for the breakdown when the finale drops, because that video is going to be a long one. See you there.